Good afternoon, selamat siang, and welcome to the guest lecture, collaboration between the Doctor and Master Program of Elementary Education and Undergraduate Program of Elementary Teacher Education with the School of Education, Faculty of Arts and Education, Deakin University. We proudly present the guest lecture entitled Primary Teachers Adaptive Expertise in Teaching Interdisciplinary Math and Science. We would like to express our sincere gratitude to Excellency the Dean of Faculty of Education, Universitas Negeri Surabaya, Professor Dr. Muhammad Nur Salim MSI, Excellency the Coordinator of Doctor Program of Elementary Education, Faculty of Education, Universitas Negeri Surabaya, Professor Dr. Suryanti MPD, Excellency the Coordinator of Master Program Elementary Education, Faculty of Education, Universitas Negeri Surabaya, Ms. Neni Mariana PhD, and Excellency the Coordinator of Undergraduate Program of Elementary Teacher Education, Faculty of Education, Universitas Negeri Surabaya, Ms. Putri Rahmadianti MPD that joined us by Zoom meeting. And the Excellency Associate Professor Wanti Wijaya from Deakin University, Australia. Welcome to Surabaya, Prof. Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Nadia Lutfi Khairunisa, and it's a great honor to me to accompany you during the event. This meeting will provide you opportunities to listen and gain insightful information from the speaker about elementary education, especially in science and math. For sure, this will be discussed in detail by our outstanding speakers, Associate Professor Wanti. Therefore, please follow the event until the end. Honorable distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, step on to the following agenda is singing National Anthem Indonesia Raya and March Unesa Song. Honorable for all audience, stand up please.
Dari pandu ibuku
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we would like to request Honorable Professor Dr. Muhammad Nur Salim MSI as the Dean of Faculty of Education to deliver welcoming speech and opening remarks. The time is yours.
Terima kasih Bu Nadia. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, salam sejahtera. Saya berbahasa Indonesia, nanti mohon diterjemahkan. Sudah paham ya. Yang saya hormati pembicara dalam hal ini adalah Profesor Wanti Wijaya dari School of Education, Faculty of Art and Education, Deakin University. Yang saya hormati Bu Korprodi, Prof. Suryanti. Yang kami hormati juga Bu Korprodi S2, Bu Neni, Bapak Ibu dosen PGSD, serta para mahasiswa. Alhamdulillah siang ini kita bersama bisa berkumpul di ruang pertemuan ini. Dan ada juga yang di Zoom. Kalau ada tamu biasanya saya sambut dengan pantun, Prof. Buah pisang, buah semangka. Nah, selamat datang di VIP UNESA. Okay. Buah semangka beli di lidah wetan, VIP siap satu langkah di depan gitu ya. Tentu kehadiran Profesor Wanti Wijaya di tengah-tengah kita hari ini adalah suatu kebahagiaan dan kehormatan besar bagi kami semua. Beliau kita kenal sebagai akademisi yang sangat luar biasa di bidangnya dan memiliki pengalaman yang luas. Saya berharap kegiatan ini tidak hanya kuliah tamu saja. Saya berharap nanti ada tindak lanjut, mungkin juga siapa tahu ada yang tertarik nanti ada kunjungan ke Deakin, student exchange, ataupun nanti juga ada yang mohon nanti Bu Yanti bisa juga ketika nanti S3 Dikdas ada yang ujian disertasi bisa sebagai penguji eksternal. Kemudian juga mohon nanti teman-teman dosen juga bisa berkolaborasi dengan Prof. Wanti Wijaya untuk penelitian kolaborasi, termasuk juga penulisan artikel bersama. Tentu saya selaku dekan sangat menyambut dengan tangan terbuka dan sangat bahagia, gembira sekali atas kehadiran Prof. Wanti Wijaya. Hari ini Prodi S3 Dikdas ini mengadakan kuliah tamu dengan tema yang tadi sudah disebutkan oleh narasumber. Semoga kita semua nanti akan mendapat sesuatu yang bisa menginspirasi. Saudara sekalian, mari kita bersama nanti kita ikuti dengan seksama apa yang disampaikan oleh Prof. Wanti dan semoga bermanfaat dan selalu menginspirasi kita. Dengan ucapan Bismillahirrahmanirrahim dan dengan izin saudara, maka kuliah tamu dengan narasumber utama Profesor Wanti Wijaya saya nyatakan dimulai.
Thank you, Prof. Nur Salim, for the welcoming speech and opening remarks. The next agenda is signing implementation arrangement between the Dean Faculty of Education with the representative from Deakin University, Associate Professor Wanti Wijaya. Okay, thank you, Prof. Wanti and Prof. Nur Salim. Yes, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, is now we come to the main agenda, that is a discussion session. The discussion session will be led by our beautiful moderator, Miss Neni Mariana, PhD. She is a coordinator, a master program of elementary education. Without waiting further, Bu Neni, the time is yours.
Ya, Bu Nadia. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay. Yeah, Prof. Wanti will introduce herself because because I didn't have her CV. I'm so sorry for the very late starting this event because that's my mistake. I made it wrong to measure the time. So Prof. Wanti is waiting for me in MIPA. Sorry for that. Yeah, actually we are a very old friend, yeah. Yeah. So we met in 2010 and then 2010 and then after that a long time we don't see each other and then finally you are here in our Faculty of Education, my beloved faculty. So even though you're still you are a young so Prof. Wanti is a young professor in MIPA, but I kidnapped her. Yeah, I kidnapped her to give a guest lecture for us here. So without further ado, Prof. Wanti, the time is yours.
Bu Neni, I call her Mbak Neni because she's much younger than me. So I'm older. So like Bu Neni said, we knew each other from the PMRE project. So that was a long time ago, and it's nice to be able to reconnect. And thank you for the opportunity to come and get to know students and colleagues at UNESA, especially the Faculty of Education. Because I'm from the School of Education. So my home base is in School of Education, Faculty of Arts and Education at Deakin University. So I've been at Deakin since 2012, February. So it's been more than 12 years. Yeah. So today what I'm going to share with all of you is actually a collective work from our current Australian Research Council grant, Discovery Grant. So as you can see, actually, it started off with, it's led by Monash University, but the lead investigator now, she moved to RMIT. So actually, it's missing RMIT now. So 4 institutions, but universitas, so Monash University, the University of Melbourne, Deakin University, and RMIT. So it's about primary school teachers' adaptive expertise in teaching mathematics and science, interdisciplinary. So this is the team. So we have Professor Mandy Berry, who used to work in Monash, but now she moved to RMIT. And then we have Colleen and Jan van Driel, myself and Li Hua, Zhu from Deakin, and we have the research fellows as well. So just to go straight to the context and problem, so I think the context starts with the need to actually equip young people with knowledge and skills that enable them to critically analyze, problem solve, and innovate solutions in the real world, addressing the real world challenges. Yeah, so I think everyone know, I think it's not just in Australia, everywhere in the world that is really the focus nowadays with 21st century skills. You know, that there's a lot of emphasis on being able to think critically and being able to implement innovative approaches. So in terms of interdisciplinary approaches, we know that there are some reports that says that interdisciplinary approaches is needed because it leads to deeper learning, and it actually helps students to develop the skills such as problem solving and creative thinking and critical thinking. We also know the limitation of the traditional approach in teaching maths and science. So usually our approach is still quite silos, yeah, like, you know, even though when they go to workforce, like when they go work in the industry, usually it's very, all the knowledge are interconnected and, linked together. So that's why it's very important to actually move away from a very silo approach of teaching discipline only, like, without making connection between different disciplines. So that's the reason or the context and the problem that we are facing. So in terms of interdisciplinary maths and science, often I think there's a lot of literature that talks about the fact that mathematics often is becoming the tool to support the science rather than having a very equal playing field, like, so what we want to try to achieve is actually a bit more balanced approach between mathematics and science when we are talking about interdisciplinary in STEM or interdisciplinary approaches in STEM. Okay, it is known to be a challenging topic or approach, and it's reported in many literature. So if you look at the literature in STEAM or STEM, teaching interdisciplinary is quite challenging for teachers. So this is about the project aims, is to actually improve not just the practical understanding, but also the theoretical understanding of the nature and the development of primary teachers' adaptive expertise in interdisciplinary maths and science. So those are the research questions. I won't read the research question. I'll give you some time to read those questions, and I will talk also about the challenges that we, in reflection, because now the project is coming to, this is our last year of implementation, so there are some things that we are reflecting and we are learning through the process as well. So, but that's the aims, is actually to understand better how we can develop adaptive expertise of primary school teachers, especially when they are trained as generalist teachers. And I think it's the same in Indonesia, isn't it? Yeah, guru SD harus mengajarkan semua mata bidang studi, mata pelajaran. In Australia, it's the same. So when we are talking, some schools employ STEM specialists, but not every school. So some schools, they do have STEM specialists who are only teaching science usually, and or maybe technology and engineering. Usually the generalist teacher will teach all mathematics, but they might employ math specialists as well for some school. So we like to use this analogy of sushi chefs. I think in earlier publication in Hatano and Inagaki paper, they talk about, like, they try to give an explanation or explain about the difference between teachers or people who are routine experts and people who are adaptive experts. So we're thinking about sushi chef. There are sushi chefs who are trained very well to make same type of sushi, like very well known every day, like, so they develop that routine expertise to make a particular type of sushi. But probably they are not so innovative. They don't come up with new recipes like the one that we see on the right-hand side. You can see that they are coming up with a very interesting, interesting sushi, right? Like, with the picture of a panda, picture of a Snoopy. Yeah. Yeah. So that's how to kind of, I think it's a very nice analogy to actually help us to understand the difference between routine expertise and adaptive expertise. Hopefully that helps us to kind of like get a sense. So it doesn't mean that, adaptive expertise doesn't have routine expertise. I think the adaptive expertise too, yeah, they are developing routine expertise. So, they have that, but they actually also be able to use the knowledge and work effectively to solve problems in a novel situation, especially when you change the context. So, whereas if you only have routine expertise, if you're presented with a very different problem, you might struggle and don't know how to solve it. So that's the distinction. And we also like this model or this diagram or representation looking at adaptive expertise and routine expertise in terms of the two-dimensional features of innovation and efficiency. So routine experts are very efficient but probably not so innovative in their approaches. So whereas adaptive experts, we are thinking about someone who have that, routine expertise, very efficient, but also very highly innovative. So the innovation scale is up and the efficiency is also high. When the people or the teacher are very efficient, but they are not innovative, then they probably become like a frustrated novice. That's what they call. So I think that's a very nice way to look at adaptive expertise and routine expertise in terms of the two-dimensional features. So in our research, we follow this framework that was developed by Yoon et al. So they developed this adaptive expertise framework and identified 3 different components of adaptive experts. So they talk about one feature is flexibility. So to measure someone who's adaptive expert, it means like that person actually has the ability to plan, to change their plan faster, like more efficient than non-experts, and they have the flexibility to critically apply their knowledge to a new situation and constantly learning also from that new situation. Okay. The second dimension is about deep level of understanding, which is similar, I think, in the PCK framework and the other framework that talk about teachers' knowledge. Usually they talk about content knowledge or, pedagogical content knowledge. And, in mathematics education, we talk about mathematical knowledge for teaching, for example. That always specify deep level of understanding of the content. So that's also a critical element in adaptive expertise. Obviously, if you don't have the knowledge, when you face, like, for example, a situation in the classroom when students solve the problem in a different way, then you do need that knowledge to be able to respond to students' thinking and then support their learning and take it further. Okay, so that's the second dimension. And the third dimension is about deliberate practice. So that is kind of like connected to how we as teachers actually receive feedback and then use the feedback to be able to reflect and then make changes or make adaptations to our plan and to our lessons so that, the next lesson actually built on the feedback and the reflection from the previous lesson. Okay, so that's in short, the 3 different components of adaptive expertise. So based on the literature review that we did, our team did, so we know that adaptive experts do not only perform procedural skills efficiently, but they also have that flexibility, capacity to innovate, and then creativity. Yeah. So also the other concept is, the difference between crystallized and fluid expertise. So the connections to the other author, Barretier and Scardamelia. Timberley and Twyford, so they are from New Zealand. They actually write a few references, quite recent one about adaptive expertise in relation to leadership. So principals and education leaders, and they talk about adaptive expertise in the context of leadership, and they mention that adaptive experts actually can solve complicated problems, so negotiate complex problems. So that's the features, the distinguishing features of adaptive expertise that they draw up. So in terms of our project, we actually, it's quite a small scale in terms of working on only 2 sequences of lessons, interdisciplinary, so connecting mathematics and science for upper primary. So the idea is to actually target year 5 and 6, so kelas 5 dan 6. So the idea is to co-design. So we developed the lesson plans, a sequence of 2 lessons, 2 different lessons. But then when we actually invite the schools to participate, they have the opportunity to adapt the lesson plans to meet the learning needs of the students in the school. So in brief, the 2 lesson sequence, The first one is called keeping your fingers on the pulse. So that is using the context of exercise, heart rate, and survival, adaptation, and the connection to mathematical ideas and mathematics curriculum is connecting to proportional reasoning and the notion of average, the notion of percentage increase, and fractions and decimals. So those are the connections to mathematics. The connection to scientific ideas is scientific inquiry skills. So when they are, kind of like design an experiment to increase their heart rate by a certain percentage, they need to actually, write their hypothesis, test the hypothesis, collect data to justify, and then drive the conclusion. The second lesson sequence, which is a little bit more challenging, is called Journey Through Space. So this is a lesson that connects the solar system or explore the solar system, planet, macam planet, okay. And then in terms of mathematics, the connection is to explore the concept of distance and times. So looking at, again, ratio and proportional thinking, but also working with big numbers. Representations or operations with big numbers, including, division, multiplication with decimals and fractions and things like that. So working with big numbers. So for our project, we use design-based research. Purneni will be very familiar with this research methodology. So this is just the outline of the different things that we plan. Our research was approved, actually the funding was approved in 2021, but by that time we were still affected by COVID, so it was practically impossible to recruit schools because we are not allowed to go to school. So we can only start it, actually, the data collection in 2022. So there was a delay for 1 year, and then we got an extension. That's why we can still carry on with the last phase this year. So that's the sort of like the outline of the research activities. So in terms of data collection, we had the pre-workshop for the teachers, where they had to do a demographic survey there. So they tell us a little bit about their experience in teaching interdisciplinary maths and science. We introduced them to the lesson sequence, and then we have the planning, pre-planning for the lesson sequence. We had interview with teachers and then their reflection. Then during the implementation, obviously they have to do the planning themselves. We collected the video. We went to the schools and we, with the technical team, and then we collected field notes and did a classroom observation. And then we had a post-workshop where the teacher actually co-reflected together and then had a group discussion, and they have to complete another sort of like survey after the end. So this is the breakdown of the lesson for the Journey Through Space lesson, lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3. You can see the overview of the learning activities and the mathematical focus, or the mathematics learning focus, and the science learning focus. So that's in the lesson plan, that's documented in the lesson plan. And in this presentation, I will report on the case study of 2 schools. So these 2 schools, actually, the data that we collected in 2022, so the first year of the data. So there are 2 teachers in school 1, and then there are 3 teachers in school 2. And you can see that one of the teachers is a STEM specialist. So Trent is a STEM specialist with relatively not too long of teaching experience, but he was very, very enthusiastic. And he also had a master degree in STEM integration, and he had a lot of exposure in terms of, frequent experience in teaching interdisciplinary and co-teaching with colleagues, okay? The second teacher is slightly more experienced, but he's quite young as well. But the teachers in that school are very enthusiastic, very committed. And the second school have 3 teachers, and you can see that the experience are very, very long, but slightly. Mia, for example, is a very experienced teacher, but she's new to the school. Rose is a very young teacher, novel teacher, and she's teaching Italian mainly. and Mark is another teacher who's has some experience in teaching interdisciplinary. So we are looking at the analysis of the data, looking at the one dimension or two dimensions, flexibility and deliberate practice. So in this instance, from school 1, the two teachers were having this conversation. So they noticed that the students struggle to make sense of that decimal number, 97 hundredths, or written as 0.97 in decimal form. That's the time required from Melbourne to Sydney via plane. That's 0.97 hours. So students struggle to interpret that, and the teacher noticed that, it was good because the other teacher, the female teacher, actually stopped him and let him know that, the student struggle with that notion. Okay, and they didn't expect that, that level of challenges that the student were facing. Okay, so that was something that was unexpected from the teacher, but they had the opportunity to actually stop and then discuss together during the lesson and came up with an alternative approach. Okay, so after that they make some changes. So this is the second school 2, and in that lesson, the students were invited to share their solutions, their approaches in solving that problem. And one of the teachers felt that she didn't feel comfortable because the explanation by the students actually were quite sophisticated. And then she said like, I don't think I could do it myself. So there was uncomfortableness about the content, and that actually connect to that dimension that, to become adaptive experts, teachers do have to have deep level of understanding of the content. Otherwise, they won't be able to support the students or ask questions to get students to think a little bit beyond what they presented, right? So, but the second teacher commented on, at the beginning, there were some students who struggle with the concept, and then she can come up with a real world context using, the example of Usain Bolt, who can run very fast, and then he referred to that context to help students to make sense of the speed. So those are very interesting. I don't know what happened. This slide doesn't, okay. They're very interesting data that we can identify the link to different dimensions, okay, of the adaptive expertise. I don't think this is very, because I think we presented this one before, okay. So in terms of the guidelines for planning interdisciplinary lesson, looking at the literature, we see that at the beginning and at the end of the lesson, there needs to be an iterative process of planning where, science was acting in the service of mathematics and vice versa. So it's not only science, mathematics, it doesn't become just a tool for science, yeah? So I think I explained this one before in the other diagram. We also have a video survey instrument. Okay, so the video survey instruments is to identify at the beginning the variation in their adaptive expertise, and then we would like to compare them at the end. When they finish the project, we would like to be able to compare the beginning responses to the end, what they say at the end. So this is the process that we went through in terms of designing the instrument. We started by individually reviewing the items, and then we used the spreadsheet to record our critical challenging moment and connect it to the theory, and then at the end we make the selection of the final instruments. So this is an example of the instruments from the pilot study. So before we went to the data collection in 2022, we had the pilot study where we collected this data, and then we actually in the video survey instruments, teachers have to watch the brief video. I don't think I will be able to play it today, but that's in the survey, we play the video, so the teacher watch the video, and then they need to respond to one of the multiple choice items, and then record their verbal explanation. So that based on that, we kind of like find a proxy or identify the level of adaptive expertise. So I think that's it from me today. At the end, I would like to also promote this opportunity to join us at the conference in July. So we are hosting a design-based research conference for 2 days. It will be hybrid. So if you are unable to join us in person, you can also join us via Zoom or via Zoom, I think. And then the registration open. Yeah, and then you can welcome to register, and I hope that Pak Dekan or the team, Bu Neni and Bu Kaprodi, maybe if you can come along and bring your students perhaps, or PhD students, if they are they can present their research using design research. So the focus is on using design research methodology. There is an early bird registration, only $200. Yeah, UNESA was involved in one of the organizing committee because Prof. Rosalina has been involved in this earlier discussion, but it's for all UNESA. So FEP is more than welcome to join us. Yeah, so that's why I would like to promote that today with the faculty of Ilmu Pendidikan, Institute of Education. So thank you so much. And then I noticed there are some questions perhaps in the chat that we can discuss, and then hear from the audience, their experience, and also their questions and feedback. Thank you. I'll return back to Bu Neni. Thank you.
Yuk Bu Wanti, gimana, ngerti nggak? Iya.
Bu Neni? Okay.
Oh, Pak Dekan mau pergi. Iya.
Yes.
Jadi penyerahan funding.
The next agenda is awarding certificate from Dean Faculty of Education.
Tahan dulu yang nanya ya.
Thank you, Prof. Nur Salim. Silakan Bu Neni, boleh dilanjutkan.
Terima kasih Bu Nadia. Baik, ada pertanyaan dari sini dulu nih. Jangan tanya isinya apa ya. Silakan. Ini tadi mungkin saya jelaskan sedikit. Jadi ini tadi Prof. Wanti menjelaskan tentang riset beliau yang sedang dilakukan ya. Jadi ada longitudinal study untuk DR tadi sistemnya metodenya DPR ya. Kalau yang mahasiswa saya S3 pasti tahu ya. Nah, DBR. Cuman yang pakai berapa orang ini nggak ngerti aku, Prof. Ya, design based research untuk melihat kemampuan adaptif ya. Kemampuan adaptif guru dalam mengajar matematika dan sains secara terintegrasi. Ya, tadi interdisciplinary approach tadi itu maksudnya digabung antara matematika dan sainsnya, di blended gitu ya. Nah, beliau mendapatkan research grant ini, itu research grant yang besar di sana di Australia itu. Berapa tahun, Prof? Effortnya?
Oh ya. Yeah. About the failures ya. Jadi kalau untuk saya tadi cerita di mobil perjalanan ke sini. Very hard to get, especially in education. Karena kalau sesudah COVID itu kan kebanyakan emphasis-nya health ya.
Yeah.
Banyak grant, competitive grant di health, nursing dan seterusnya. Untuk education sedikit sangat sulit kita mendapatkan. So we had trial probably 3 times I think. This the third time lucky. Jadi pertama tidak mengajukan tidak berhasil. Tunggu lagi, coba lagi, buat pilot. Mengajukan lagi, tidak berhasil lagi. Akhirnya ketiga, we were successful. But I think that just highlight the importance of persistence ya. Harus tetap gigih gitu, jadi tidak pantang menyerah.
Ya, jadi 3 kali mencoba. Kalau di kita di RTPM itu loh ya, di RTPM. Oh gagal, nggak apa-apa, coba lagi. Gagal lagi, coba lagi. Mungkin yang ketiga dapat kayak Prof Andi. Nggak, itu buat saya bukan. Iya, jadi risetnya menarik ya karena melihat kemampuan adaptif guru dalam mengajar itu tadi. Tadi beliau membedakan antara adaptif dengan rutin ya, rutin. Kalau yang rutin itu ya analogi sushi tadi bagus ya. Jadi kalau bikin sushi persis kayak chef gitu itu masih yang rutin loh. Jadi kalau ada guru mengajar, pinter ngajar, bagus, muridnya hasilnya baik, itu masih yang tugas rutin kita ya. Tapi yang adaptif itu yang menghadapi kendala, tapi dia bisa melakukan problem solving di luar kasus-kasus rutin tadi, dan solusinya yang mereka munculkan itu juga di luar solusi rutin gitu ya. Jadi kreatif lah ya, gurunya itu kreatif. Nah kalau guru kreatif apa tidak pernah melakukan hal yang rutin ya dilakukan. Tapi itu one level ahead ya, jadi 1 level lagi di atasnya. Baik, ada pertanyaan mungkin? Ya, ada, dari sini ada. Nanti yang di chat room tahan dulu. Ya.
Tadi menarik, kemampuan adaptif ini kan memang harus dimiliki oleh seorang guru, dan tadi dicontohkan interdisipliner antara sains dan matematika. Saya jadi teringat kurikulum 2013 di negara kami. Itu namanya, negara kita, sorry. Pendekatannya menggunakan tematik, dan ini sedikit mirip begitu. Namun faktanya di lapangan tentu kesulitan guru itu mentematikan. Jadi kalau konteksnya tadi itu meninterdisiplinarkan, itu yang kadang sulit. Bahkan kurikulum yang sudah didesain sedemikian rupa pun membuat guru ini masih kesulitan. Nah, untuk bisa memiliki kemampuan adaptif itu kira-kira tips and triknya bagaimana? Berdasarkan based on the research. Terima kasih Prof. Bu Neni.
That because interdisciplinary, where you have to change your teaching approach, it requires a lot of effort and commitment, yeah, time as well. So that's why I explained to Bu Neni, it's actually very hard for us to keep the school to stay committed over the years, because often the priority, like, the external pressures from schools is to, improve, obviously perform very well in the exams in NAPLAN, for instance, in Australia. The test is not ideal, but because it assesses the students and give ranking, and the schools are ranked according to their students' performance, then it becomes also a pressure for schools and teachers to make sure that the students are performing well. Ya, jadi sama di sana juga tantangannya berat, Pak. Artinya untuk bisa mengubah mindset dari guru. Tetapi ada guru, ada sekolah yang berhasil. Artinya that's why it's quite interesting when you look at the school who are embracing innovation, and the school who probably focuses more on a particular aspect of just performing and maintaining the routine practices and routine teaching approaches. I think you need to get teachers to look at things differently, to have a different mindset. But I think it takes time to develop that. In my other research using lesson study, that's the same. And I think usually the teachers and the school will embrace that approach when they see the impact on students. Kalau mereka melihat bahwa, oh, ternyata siswanya kalau pakai pendekatan ini lebih senang ya belajarnya. Lalu ternyata yang tadinya tidak pernah masuk atau bolos terus, ternyata jadi semangat gitu. Then they will actually keep improving ya Bu Neni ya. Kira-kira gimana Bu Neni, ada tambahan?
Ya, jadi kalau ngadain riset di Australia tuh susah, nggak kayak di sini ya. Kalau misalnya saya mau ngadain riset kan tinggal manggil mahasiswa, yuk di sekolahnya masing-masing gitu ya. Bisa, kalau di sana enggak. Untuk komitmen guru stay selama longitudinal research kayak gini nih susah banget. Jadi selama 4 tahun beliau mengalami riset ini merotol gitu ya, gurunya satu-satu, ada yang hamil, ada yang melahirkan, ada yang pindah gitu kan, macam-macam. Jadi tinggal and there is one left ya.
Not one left, but I think we
It's so
still
dramatic.
have school, but the one who started from the beginning, from 2022 until now, I think who started like from the beginning until the end. So the longitudinal data that we can collect it, I think there was one teacher, the first teacher. Yeah, but because it's very challenging, because often teachers change grades. I don't know whether it's the practice here. Kalau mengajar guru di sana kadang dirotasi. Jadi tahun ini mengajar kelas 3, tahun depan mengajar kelas 4, atau bisa jadi mengajar TK begitu. Atau dipindah ke kelas 6 gitu. Jadi gurunya tuh selalu berputar, kadang berotasi. So whereas our sequence stays with the 2 lesson sequence are the same. So it's difficult when the teachers are moving. Yeah.
So you said that this is like a national grant, right?
Yes.
Usually the government give fund to the research that support the government policy. So is that a kind of policy there to do the interdisciplinary approach in elementary education?
There is a push for that, but it's not mandated.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's still optional, and that's probably the reason why the uptake is a little bit limited.
Okay.
Because if it's a push from the local government that they require teachers to do it, then it will be easier to recruit schools. But because at the moment, I think there's a lot of advocacy, but there's not.
So only those who want.
It's always voluntary. I think
voluntary.
research in Australian context has to be voluntary, so we cannot force schools or teachers to participate. So
Menarik ya. Jadi bukan tagihan kurikulum sebenarnya, bukan tagihan pemerintah ya. Judulnya ini, tapi didanai karena dianggap berarti so that you already convince the government that this is very important to do. Ya, walaupun bukan kewajiban mereka untuk menerapkan pendekatan interdisiplin, tapi riset ini diterima karena dianggap penting ya untuk dilakukan. Baik, ada lagi pertanyaan mungkin yang dari Zoom, silakan. raise hand. Iya, oh nggak ada ya, adanya dari MC. Silakan Bu Nadia. Iya Bu Nadia silakan.
Saya double-double hari ini ya. Terima kasih Prof. Di PowerPoint Prof tadi itu kan ada rutin ya, apa kurikulum rutin atau pembelajaran rutin, kemudian ada pembandingnya adalah yang interdisciplinary. Nah, di Australia apakah yang rutin ini memang mata pelajarannya itu terpisah atau bagaimana? Ya, thank you.
Yeah, another great question. So maybe just to clarify, I think the difference between routine expertise and adaptive expertise, we talk about that, the
Yeah.
routine and adaptive expertise. In terms of the curriculum, the school actually have some flexibility. So some schools who promote STEM interdisciplinary, many schools actually do have a STEM lessons, right? Or even like some secondary schools, they have funding to have a STEM center. So in my earlier research in secondary schools, I work with secondary schools in Melbourne, and they got the grant to actually establish or develop a STEM center. So there is a push to do that, but then in terms of curriculum, it's not very explicit. Jadi curriculum, the maths curriculum and the science curriculum are still separate. Yeah, in primary school and in secondary school as well. So we don't have a STEM curriculum in both primary or secondary. So what happened is that often schools adopt STEM as an inquiry approach, or they have a STEM week, or if they employ STEM specialists, they might actually have STEM lessons scheduled either every 2 weeks or something like that, where students will do a lot of hands-on activity, like they're doing experiments, creating volcanoes and doing experiments, very fun experiments in schools, and usually that's handled by a STEM specialist, or they're doing robotics or coding, for example. But in terms of the curriculum, there's no specific curriculum that is a STEM curriculum mandated in primary or secondary. So that's the challenge, I suppose.
So what
still
you are
optional.
trying to do is doing that in a regular routine in the math and science.
Yeah. So the current research actually doesn't mean that the school have to do it in every single lesson, but with the project, we ask the schools to trial 2 lesson sequence.
Yeah.
So it could be 1 in term 2, 1 in term 3, or 1 in term 1, 1 in term 2. So it doesn't even have to be in one term. So if they can do one interdisciplinary lesson sequence, which usually takes 3 to 5 lessons, once a term, that's enough experience for students and teachers to really have that, experience to develop their adaptive expertise.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that we ask the school to implement every lesson in interdisciplinary way, because we understand that there are other curriculum goals and achievement that they have to, the teachers have to be accountable for. Yeah. Menjawab pertanyaan. Thank you.
Ya, jadi kurikulumnya terpisah sebenarnya, tapi mereka punya kayak STEM lesson gitu ya. Itu tapi nggak dilakukan dalam badan kurikulum. Mungkin kalau di kita kayak proyek pelajar Pancasila itu ya. Kayak proyek pelajar Pancasila tapi fokusnya di STEM. Nanti mereka bikin apa gitu kan, yang melibatkan STEM komponen. Terus ada juga yang STEM center, beberapa SMP atau SMA itu punya STEM center. Cuman I think that's a part of co-curricular ya. Ya, co-curricular. Jadi lalu yang risetnya beliau ini diuji cobakannya di kelas biasa, mencoba menggabungkan pembelajaran IPA dan pembelajaran matematika, tapi cuman sampel aja gitu loh untuk 3 pertemuan gitu ya, atau untuk 3 pelajaran dalam 1 semester. Juga tidak ada ekspektasi untuk guru itu menggabungkan semuanya, semua CP kalau di kita ya enggak, tapi ini hanya untuk apa istilahnya trigger aja untuk melihat kalau pendekatan interdisiplin ini ternyata bagus untuk siswanya gitu ya, untuk membuktikan itu. Ya. Oke, ada lagi pertanyaan? Oh iya, Bu Kristi. Ya, keliru tangannya ya. Mirroring. Mirror.
Terima kasih.
Silakan Bu.
Melakukan riset yang luar biasa, menggabungkan banyak kerjasama dari 4 universitas. Nah, kemudian yang saya tertarik sekali dengan interdisipliner tadi ya. Kalau di Indonesia saat ini, untuk guru-guru pendidikan dasar terutama, kami direpotkan dengan yang namanya PMM. Nah, platform Merdeka Belajar, platform Merdeka Mengajar yang dikeluarkan oleh Kemendikbudristek. Dan di sini tujuannya adalah guru diharapkan langsung bisa beradaptasi dengan kondisi yang ada, bagaimana membuat pembelajaran menjadi menarik. Di sini kan kita harus bisa keluar dari rutinitas. Artinya guru SD saat ini tuh luar biasa actionnya, mulai dari menggunakan yang namanya media, baik itu gadget dan lain sebagainya, harus bisa. Baik dari Sabang sampai Merauke semuanya diwajibkan harus bisa. Nah, seperti itu. Nah, jadi sudah bukan sesuatu yang bukan sesuatu yang aneh lagi, semua guru harus bisa menguasai itu. Sedangkan di ini tadi saya tertarik hanya dengan menggunakan model riset seperti ini dinyatakan penting, sedangkan kami seakan-akan diberi beban yang sangat berat sekali. Nah ini curhat. Berat sekali, mulai dari membuat pengembangan diri, kemudian karya inovatif, kemudian ada juga yang namanya apa satunya itu ya sampai dan lain sebagainya. Nah, di sini tadi di dalam risetnya Profesor Wanti tadi, untuk sebagai penilai, mengukur bahwa guru ini bisa dikatakan guru yang adaptif itu seperti apa. Artinya kami di sini dipacu dengan kondisi yang ada. Kalau di sana untuk menyatakan, diukur bahwa guru ini sudah dikatakan adaptif dan bisa menerapkan pendekatan interdisipliner luar biasa bagi siswa, itu seperti apa? Ya, itu saja yang saya tanyakan. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih. Waalaikumsalam. Thank you so much. Good question, and I know there's a lot of pressure, yeah, a lot of challenges, yeah, I know a lot of responsibilities. I think the same. Teachers, primary school teachers in Australia also face a lot of administrative requirement. So if you are aware, I think currently we have teacher shortages in Australia. So kita kekurangan guru karena tenaga gurunya berkurang, karena banyak
malas
yang
jadi guru. Iya. Di sini di Pulau Soro ya keroyokan.
So maybe if you have a very good English, you can apply
for being teacher in Australia.
Yeah. That's right. So it's also, I think the teachers face a lot of responsibilities similar, and the need to innovate and be flexible. So I think coming back to what are the characteristics, so in our research we refer to that framework by Yoon et al. Oh, I don't know, yeah, maybe share it again. So the framework talk about the tiga komponen ya Bu ya. Jadi kalau guru yang adaptif itu, this one, not this. Oh yeah, that one maybe. That one. Yang guru yang adaptif itu mempunyai kemampuan ini yang fleksibilitas, jadi fleksibel gitu ya. Kalau ada ada sesuatu yang berbeda gitu dari anaknya, jawabannya yang tidak Ya, tidak umum, betul, betul. It's not common or unexpected. Then they can actually apply something that they have to adjust. Jadi kalau pelajarannya tiba-tiba harus berubah gitu ya, karena ada pertanyaan dari anak yang tidak diantisipasi, lalu harus memberikan masukan baru gitu. That's a flexibility. Ya, jadi adaptifnya di situ. Kalau ada juga misalnya ada pertanyaan dari anak yang guru tidak mengantisipasi, atau tadi yang miskonsepsi dari anak atau kesulitan dari anak. Nah, itu kan membutuhkan gurunya harus punya pemahaman ya, pemahaman tentang pecahan tadi ya, kemampuan memahami tentang pecahan, bagaimana supaya bisa membantu anak yang kesulitan. Nah, itu terkait dengan deep level of understanding. Lalu kalau yang deliberate practice itu kalau ada masukan dari, seperti tadi kan dua guru tadi berdiskusi ya, karena ada sesuatu momen yang tidak diantisipasi. Lalu pelajaran berikutnya itu guru yang kedua itu merubah sedikit dari apa yang sudah direncanakan. That's how we see that they are adaptive experts. Karena mereka tahu ada yang harus dirubah dan memang merubah itu berdasarkan refleksi. Kan ada guru yang mungkin tahu anaknya kesulitan, tetapi ya sudah, kalau mau dirubah kan males ya, ganti lagi gitu. Nah, itu kan berarti tidak adaptive experts, jadi itu lebih ke routine experts, karena sudah tahu ada yang harus dirubah pelajarannya, karena misalnya siswanya kesulitan dengan topik tertentu, tapi tidak mau mengubah RPP-nya, karena udah dibuat kok, masa dirubah lagi gitu kan ya, tambah kerjaan.
What,
gitu.
what if they don't want to change the lesson plan, but they change the action? Is that
Okay.
adaptive?
To some extent, I think, but I think that is in the enactment part, but not in the planning. So then that could be a question: why didn't they change the lesson plan to reflect what they are doing?
Yeah.
I think that's the thing.
Sudah Bu, curhatnya sudah. One more question? Ada? Ya. Oh ya, oke, Pak Zai. He raised his hand.
Can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Neni.
Wajah kepeng.
And then thank you for Ma'am Wanti for the inspiring explanation from you. I have a lot of insight from your explanation, but I have a lot of questions for you. Actually, I have 10 questions, but the first question is that I want to know, are you Indonesian? Because you're really fluent in Bahasa. That's the first question that I want to know. Because Ma'am Neni didn't tell about your CV. Are you Indonesian? Because you're really fluent in Bahasa.
Oh my goodness.
I really want to know about it for sure. And then the second one, I don't know that I'm missing maybe from your explanation, but I want to know how can you find the project? Because I think your project was really interesting. Have you discussed with the teacher for the project, or your idea is from you, or you have discussed with the teacher? And then the third one, this is because I have 10, but for now I'm
Stop
just
from the
giving you
third
3
one ya
questions.
Pak Zai.
And then the last
I can give you a special session with her later.
Okay, the last question, because you tell me about design research, and I want to know about design research because Ma'am Nani always give me just 1% in every meeting. I still need a lot of information about it. How can you develop your design research? Maybe in the next research, maybe what is your project? If I can know what is your project in the next. Thank you. Maybe it's from me. Thank you, Mom Wanti. Nice to know you.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Zainal.
Yeah.
Okay. Very enthusiastic
Perhaps
with 10 questions.
every time I explain about design research in my classroom, we mention about HLT,
The
HLT.
hypothetical
Yeah,
trajectory.
but perhaps he didn't see it in your PowerPoint, so that's why I'm wondering.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah.
He's wondering. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
please, Prof.
Oh,
Vanti.
yeah, there's another presentation for that. We can talk about that. Okay, so the first question is about where I'm coming from. Yeah, I'm Indonesian, so I'm from Cirebon, West Java, but I've been working in Deakin University in Australia for more than 12 years, since February 2012, but I can still speak Bahasa, obviously. So you can ask me questions in Bahasa Indonesia as
Java.
well, yeah.
Java
Not
too?
Javanese, maybe not very fluent. Okay. What was the second question now?
What was that, Zai?
Okay, thank you. I will repeat my question. How you find your idea for your
Oh, the
project?
Yeah, yeah.
idea,
Have you
the
discussed with your
design,
teacher, or the idea is from you?
Yes, yes, that's good. So this is a collective research project. So the lead, so obviously as a team, we explore the different topics, and we read a lot of papers, and then we came up with this topic based on our study of the literature, and also we thought that this is a topic that is timely and important, because during COVID, I think when teachers have to suddenly change their teaching from face to face to online, right? Like Ibu mentioned about the fact that now teachers have to be very skillful in using technology. And I think partly that was because of COVID as well, right? Because maybe teachers used to teach just using paper and pencil and whiteboard, but because of COVID, you have to learn how to use computer. You have to learn how to use Zoom. You have to learn how to make the Zoom sessions interactive and engaging. Otherwise, every student will just fall asleep or go away, and there was no one left in the Zoom. So it's challenging. Yeah. Yeah, there was a question this morning in the lecture as well from students. So that was initially the team actually came up with the idea based on literature review and a lot of reading and discussion. And we also then, when we got the grant, obviously we have to approach schools and discuss with the school. We expect teachers and schools to adapt the lesson sequence. So the schools that I was working with in the last year, so they only have year 4 available. Kelas 4 yang bisa guru kelas 4. So they had to change the lesson plans quite significantly, because the mathematics they find it too challenging for because it was designed for year 5 and 6, kelas 5 dan kelas 6. Jadi kalau untuk guru kelas 4, mereka menganggapnya it's a little bit beyond the students' expectations. So they have to drop, like they didn't go to explore average, for example. Kan itu tentang heart rate ya. And they have to decide, they get the students to design activities to increase their heart rate by 50%, for example. Because fraction, they use fraction half and 50%. The students are familiar with that. But then in the original lesson plan, the students were expected to actually explore average, like, range, that notion of range and notion of average. But that was, that was the teachers decided to adapt the lesson sequence based on the fact that they are teaching year 4. So hopefully that answers your question, the second question.
Yeah.
And the third one is about
Did we-
design research. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this particular talk didn't really specify a lot or talk a lot about design research, but in design research we went through that cycle, right? The mendesain, kemudian melakukan di kelas, mengobservasi, dan kemudian refleksi dan refinement, yeah. So obviously we went through that, but we didn't specifically talk about the hypothetical learning trajectory of the students. Something that slightly different approach, I think, in the design research. Yeah.
So DBR.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So ini DBR Pak Zai, bukan DR.
Okay,
Mirip-
maybe we should to
mirip-
have another
mirip ya.
collaboration, Ma'am Neni.
Ya.
Ma'am Wanti maybe.
Pesan
Thank you,
sponsor.
Ma'am Neni, for
Oke,
facilitating that.
thank you. Oke, cukup Bu Nadia? Ya, oke. Alhamdulillah. Jadi sudah selesai lessonnya dengan Prof. Wanti hari ini. Alhamdulillah, we give a lot of insights about how to do research qualitatively, and this is very interesting for our especially master and doctoral students because they have challenge to do the qualitative research anyway. So okay, thank you once again, Prof. Wanti, for your presence and also for the presentation. It's very insightful. Thank you for the audience in Zoom and also here doing the on-site visit with Prof. Wanti here, and you can do like photo with Prof. Wanti after that. Thank you very much, Prof. Suryanti, for facilitating this and give very quick instruction for us to do this. And Bu Nadia for facilitating this, Pak Al. Let me close this session. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Say that I was very impressed when Bu Neni said, "Oh, flyers ready." One day, I was like, "Oh my God, so fast!"
So you know, like the guys just ask you, and also the guy behind there, they can do it in less than 1 hour for making flyer, ya. Professional. Oh iya, yuk mau foto bareng? Ya, ya kita. Foto bareng sama yang di Zoom nggak? Nggak bisa ya, Bu. Biar foto sendiri ya. Sian deh.
Bapak Ibu yang di Zoom, oh sudah habis.
Udah habis.
No need,
Oh
no need.
masih.
Oh,
Silakan
ini
jika
ada.
mau
Di
foto
galeri,
bersama,
galeri view, Pak.
silahkan menyalakan kameranya.
Iya, tadi tidur semua.
Pak Ali bisa di
Belum.
Zoom? Enggak, di Zoom dulu. Prof. Wanti dan Bu Neni bisa di Zoom dulu.
Hah?
No problem.
Nggak apa-apa, Prof.
Nanti yang di sini foto sendiri
Foto
ya.
sendiri, ya.
Baik Bapak
Privilege
Ibu,
ya.
sudah tidak ada yang mau menyalakan kamera lagi? Kesempatan
Ayo, yang
langka
menyalakan
ini.
kamera bisa masuk foto, yang nggak nyala kameranya nggak masuk foto.
Oke, ready Pak Ali? Ya,
Halo, Bu
saya
Ros.
hitung
Bu
guys,
Rosmi.
1, 2, 3, senyum. Lagi, 3, 2, 1. Oke, terima kasih Bapak Ibu, selamat sore.
Thank you,
Mama
Wassalamualaikum
Wanti.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Monggo yang di ruang ini silahkan berdiri, menata diri, menata hati.
Ya, simetri.
Silahkan semuanya. Ya. Tidak ikut, Prof. Ini ada Rizka. Ya, tidak usah jauh-jauh, Prof. Sudah saya panggil.
Khusus student. But also like a journalist.
Ya.
Ibu sini. Kita duduk biar mereka berdiri. Ya, di sela-sela. Tiba-tiba rubung. Belakangnya Bu Nadia tuh ada Pak Ali ya, Pak Ali. Hah? Cari. Loh, kelihatan kelihatan dirimu. Oh iya, enggak.
Oh, enggak benar Bunda.
Iya, iya, Riz. Lagi. Satu. Sembarang, Prof. Gaya bebas. Hah? Semangat, Prof. Oh, alah. Ke sana sedikit bisa kan? Yang jilbab hitam. Jilbab hitam. Sebelahnya Pak Ali, jangan geser-geser ke Pak Ali, ke sana. Ke sana biar kelihatan, Bu. Nah. Oke.
Yang hindari kamera itu.
9.
Mbak. Enggak. Ya. Oh,
Hore.
iya, iya.
Nah, tak kirim Ibu.
Oh,
Tak
iya,
kirimin
iya,
di
iya,
grup
iya.
itu punya
Iya,
Prof
iya.
Yanti.
Oh, nggih.
Ya? Iya. Video tak ini?
Oh, bumerang.
Foto. Endi? Ayo Mbak Rizka. Ya. Hore. Ayo selfie. Kamu ikut toh gini. Loh. Ya wis kamu tadi Mbak Prof Anti kene. Apa tuh Mbak Prof Anti kene, Bu? Sudah. Nanti tak
kirim ke
kirim.
grup. Terima kasih Bu Neni.
Sama-sama.
Sehat selalu.
Amin. Makasih
Terima kasih
sama-sama.
Prof Wanti Enda.